Each of us has at our disposal and taps into over the course of any given day a particular bundle of skills. We might call it a unique toolbox that contains certain tools and skills and abilities, be they physical, intellectual, relational, spiritual, experiential. Most of us, we dip into multiple of these toolboxes over one day. We might think first of practically the ones that all of us use on a daily basis. The skills involved in driving a car, the assortment of household tasks that we do, communicating, talking with one another. We use these skills in the toolbox with almost little to no effort. Think about how easily we can kick into autopilot with some of the routine things that we do each day. Putting the laundry into the washer and dryer, getting up, driving to work, navigating through our favorite websites. We pick up with those particular tools, if you will, and then we're off and running. And then also there's the other toolboxes, we might call them specialized toolboxes that each of us has. The unique set of skills and abilities and talents that we over time have acquired and have honed. Anything from being a carpenter, a tradesperson, to the art of hunting or trapping, the knack for home decor and planning. And the list goes on and on and on. Those skills, those tools that we have learned, that we've practiced, and we've refined for many years. And they require ongoing use to stay sharp. We also might think of our professions, the various professions and lines of work that often have complex sets of tools. Education, experiences, knowledge and wisdom, soft skills, ongoing training that allow us to do those jobs. Jobs like running an enterprise successfully, teaching and forming our young children, ensuring the safety and health of our communities and neighborhoods. All of the toolbox skills that we pick up, that we acquire, that we have acquired, and that we use each day. Things like the technical know-how, the professional expertise, that tact and finesse of communication, the stamina and mental awareness that we need to make it through challenging moments, time management, conflict resolution, the ability to think universally and globally, that sixth sense of wisdom, of what is wise and best to do in a situation. All of that and so much more, the set of skills in those toolboxes that we have and use. Friends, today, here gathered on this Sunday, what about the toolboxes in our lives? The toolbox that contains the skills of forgiveness, of reconciliation, of mutual care and love. Because these are the sets of skills that our readings today get at. We're led to ask, I think, we're led to reflect at the deepest level, where are those toolbox skills in our life? How often do we put them to practice? What is the role of those sets of skills, these spiritual sets of skills, not just in my religious life, but in all facets of my life, my relationships, my living, my comings and goings? And even more, we might ask, how sharp are those skills in our toolbox? The encouragement of Jesus today is that these toolboxes, these sets of skills of forgiveness, of reconciliation, of genuine concern, Jesus encourages us that those be part and parcel of our daily lives, of our community living. As Jesus is today talking to his disciples in the gospel about community relationships, what is life to be like in the church? he tells his disciples that mending damaged relationships, harmed relationships, is not something that's on the side. It's not something that's optional for disciples. But rather, it's essential and vital to Christian community. Because without those things, my friends, without those sets of skills put into practice, we know what happens. Hurts fester. People stay at odds with one another. Resentment and mutual exclusion. And what happens is that the love of Christ that we're called to is left unmanifest. But with it, with those toolbox sets of skills that Jesus encourages us to have, what can happen? People with differences and disagreements can come together not based so much upon their divergences, but on their common ground as children of God. That toxicity of division, recrimination, indifference, and egoism can give way to a freshness, breath of fresh air that has solidarity and dialogue, mutual understanding, care and concern, forgiveness, pardon, peace. In a word, my friends, the power of Christ's love is experienced in our midst. I don't know about you, but that is indeed something that we, I think, all desire so much in our midst, in our world, in our communities, in our families, in our dealings, in all. Each of us has been given these toolboxes, these sets of skills of the disciple of Christ, of forgiving those who have wronged us, of seeking to reconcile our differences in real ways, of truly caring about the spiritual welfare of those who are around us. We've seen these Christian skills on display around us, in our relationships, in our treatment, in our interaction with others. Hopefully we can say that that is the case. And still sometimes we recognize that these tools, they're in need of a bit of practice, a bit of sharpening, a bit of refinement. We, I think, can look back and examine in our own lives how sometimes these virtues, these skills that Christ calls us to, can sometimes be deeply affected by our own family upbringing, by traumatic experiences in our lives, by the culture and mindset in which we swim. And yet here we are. These sets of skills that Christ has given to us, entrusted to us, and asked of us. And I think there's no getting around for us today that we cannot sit idly by. In fact, I think the question for us today is how can these toolboxes, these sets of spiritual skills, how can they be the first things that we reach for and are reminded of in the morning, and the last thing that we put back on the shelf as we go to bed? Each and every time that we resist retribution and lashing back out, each time we can contain our pride and convey compassion, each time we can step a little bit more into the perspective and life of the other person, whomever that is, each time we seek to step into the breach and mediate reconciliation and resolution, we're breaking out those toolboxes. We're sharpening those skills. I think, my friends, we are finally serving as instruments of the very presence, the very reconciling presence of Christ in our midst. For it is with these toolboxes, these spiritual sets of skills, that we not only bear fruit, but we also set our minds and our hearts towards the fullness of God's kingdom of peace, justice, mercy, and compassion.